It's not just Lauren who doesn't want this. Lauren. It's not just the leadership, as Lauren said, that doesn't want this bill to change. It's also President Trump and the administration. There is a concern that if this goes back to the Senate, they're starting completely over. They got it through the Senate. They want to get it through the House as is. They don't want any more question marks. They don't want to wait for any more votes. And so what we've seen here today is an incredibly quiet White House. We know that behind the scenes, they are having meetings. It's been a revolving door of not only just the holdouts, both conservative and the more moderate, but also people who support the bill, because they are hoping that this will bring some pressure to those colleagues if they're all in the room together talking it out. And as Lauren mentioned, a lot of this has been negotiations. How do we get this done as is? What do you need? Talking to these various lawmakers, and the administration is making promises. Now, the White House won't tell me what those promises are, but they're making promises to these lawmakers to try to help get them over the finish line. Again, this is critical for President Trump. Now, what we're hearing from White House officials who were incredibly bullish yesterday, saying we've been courting these House members for months, we're going to get this done. They've been a little bit more coy today, but they still believe they can get this done, and they're basing that off of the negotiations and off of the conversations that they're having. And actually, I was talking to Lauren about this before we came on the show. One of the interesting things to watch for after, if this bill does get passed, is what exactly the White House does to show these these lawmakers what they wanted, to give them what they wanted, and that's going to be something to watch moving forward.
Yeah, we will be watching for that. Kristen Holmes, thank you. Out front now, Republican Congressman Tim Burchett. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us this evening. You voted yes on the House version of this bill. Where do you stand right now on this version the Senate sent over?
I'm firmly undecided. I've got a few more questions to answer. I'm concerned about the economic impact, of course, of this. I think the CBO, they do not take that into consideration, and that's something that I think is kind of greatly underutilized in their score, because oddly enough, if you release America's energy potential and remove a lot of the bureaucracy, you're going to see our economy grow. And of course, the tax credits that are there for business manufacturing, 100% write-offs, things like that. And in Tennessee, if we don't pass it, we're going to see over a $2,000 to $3,000 tax increase on families making $70,000 or less. So, of course, I'm leaning in the affirmative, but I'm just waiting out to hear just exactly everything. We've been breaking it down piece by piece.
So you're taking issue with the CBO estimate here?
Yes, ma'am, I do have an issue with it. The office is very partisan. I mean, 85% of the people in their healthcare division identify as a Democrat, or they've contributed to Democrats, or they're registered Democrats. They're leading, I believe their leading economist is that. We ought to do away with these organizations, because we use them when we like them, we don't use them when we don't like them, and you've got a bunch of bureaucrats in here that are on a lifetime gravy train. And frankly, we've got independent agencies that can do that. We have people up here with accounting degrees that can do the math. So I feel like that is a waste of taxpayers' money.
So in January 2024, there was a Republican who trusted the CBO so much that they reintroduced a resolution to require the House clerk to read the CBO estimate of any bill. I believe that was you, sir, the third time you introduced that resolution. Is that right?
That's correct, ma'am. Of course, and that proves
but
just
you
what
don't
I
like
said.
you don't like the CBO now.
Ma'am?
But you don't like the CBO now. You introduced that resolution over multiple years, but now you're dissing the CBO.
Did the bill pass?
Your resolution?
Did the bill pass? Yes, ma'am.
You introduced it, sir.
I know
it's
it, ma'am,
irrelevant.
But did it pass? They never pass because nobody wants any verification. It proves my point. When it serves us well,
you took a stance,
when it serves
and you
us well,
you're
we're for it. But when it doesn't, we don't. So
you're clear about where you are
like,
on the CBO. I just want to say, but just to get to where you said earlier that you were closer to voting yes after speaking with the president. I saw the vice president sent you put a nice tweet up that you responded to. What did the president say to you that made you feel maybe closer to voting yes?
He talked about the economic output that we would have that was not in the CBO scores, and along those lines, he talked about other things that I'm not going to share, but because it was in privacy. But I think there's a lot of things that will probably be revealed when this is passed, and I think America will embrace it further. I think, again, once you do some things like straighten up Medicaid and Medicare, and you dispute a lot of the lies that are in the media about people getting kicked off, I think America understands what we're up against in this. We're up against the, people want to call it the swamp up here, but it's really just a sewer. It's a man-made thing that just, it doesn't produce anything, and it fights us every step of the way. And so I think once you allow Americans to get out and work and actually force those to work and get them off the couch that some of them are on, that are in the illegals and folks that are gaming the system, I think you're going to see that this country will bust wide open economically, and I think that's going to be a great thing for this country.
Well, the CBO, which you put so much trust in for years and years, that you passed a resolution wanting estimates read before bills, is very clear about how
Yes,
many
ma'am.
people are going to be kicked off of health care until you were against the CBO.
No, ma'am. You listen. If you want to do the editorial, just go ahead, and you don't need me on here. But the
These
CBO,
are facts, sir.
I would
I don't
like
have
to
to
see
editorialize.
scores. I would like to see what the economic output of every bill. You as a taxpayer should want that too. And the CBO is the only organization we have. If I could allow a private accounting firm to do it, I would much rather that happen. But the reality is it would have to be the CBO. And what do you have against knowing how much each bill is spent? Why does the media oppose that? Why do you all on the left always fight every chance at America knowing what's going on? The problem y'all have with this bill, ma'am, is that it gets government out of our way and lets Americans make some decisions, and maybe hardworking Americans would have a better choice and a better shot at life in this country without you all just telling us how bad things are going and trying to construct, and as you're doing with me, trying to dictate what I've said. And the reality is the CBO is a partisan organization, and the reality is America has a right to know how much we're spending on every piece of legislation. I cannot believe you as a member of the media would not want open records, and that is exactly what that bill would do.
Sir, we have reported on what is in this bill. We do that time and again.
Ma'am, you all are trying to scare, are you talking about the big beautiful bill? You all just try to scare America by telling millions of people are going to be cut off this thing. You're talking about the people that are on it illegally, that are gaming the system, and that is. And
no, we're not. The
CBO
is very
and
clear.
The bill does not do anything of what you've said, and all you've done is scare America, and you're not doing a service to this country, ma'am. And you all ought to start talking. You want to talk about transparency, and then there you are attacking me on a bill where I'm trying to make it transparent to how much we're spending on each piece of legislation. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
You wanted to have the CBO estimate, and you're now railing against CBO estimates.
Because that is the only organization. That is the only organization at our disposal to do that.
Good enough for you, and we are reporting on it. Congressman Tim Burchett, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, ma'am. It's been a real pleasure.
It has been.